Hey witches, it's Faye the Fiend, and today we are just going over the basics of cleansing. I got a new tarot deck and kind of want to cleanse it. Yeah, I no longer have my hair pink and black, but I figured we can keep the theme going. Alrighty, so kind of there's different ways you can cleanse. The This video is obviously for beginners. If you guys want to offer anything to the beginners in the comments, it would be appreciated. But I just kind of think of the four elements, right? So fire is a little trickier because you don't want to burn your object. It's not always necessary, but if you know you have like a metal object, you can always like pass it through the fire quickly. Um, Water, again, this is paper. Maybe you don't want to put water on that, but you can put water on your hands. We'll talk about that. And then you think of earth, salt, bearing something. Um, and then what's the last one? Air, you can smoke cleanse. Yeah, so I'm just gonna run through the like common ones, and if you guys want to offer your own, just go ahead. I want to make this a community where everyone kind of, is open to learning and teaching and sharing. So the first one we have is crystals. You can either use a crystal that's meant for cleansing, like selenite, put it over, leave it overnight. You can also do crystal grids. A lot of people, like to. I don't have a lot of like cleansing crystals, um, but yeah, smoky quartz, some clear quartz, and then some selenite. You can cleanse your deck that way. Um, Obviously, I feel like crystal grids are a little more complicated because there's more pieces to add to it, but yeah, it doesn't have to be. You can just make it something simple, and boom. We also have a selenite bowl here. This one's kind of small for the object, but if you ever did have an object small enough to put in here, you could always cleanse and just leave the bowl overnight. Um, Again, these are too big, but I just wanted to leave this here as an example. Like you can use the crystal um, to cleanse. The second one we have is smoke cleansing. We have rosemary, garden sage, um, cedar is a good one. You just light it and then kind of think about the motion in which you're moving it. So if we're cleansing it, you kind of want to do counterclockwise. Again, this isn't necessary. If you just want to like hold it, you can, but it's helpful to like just further your intention counterclockwise. You can also use incense if you have like dragon blood, some kind of resin as well. Just using the smoke from whatever, and then try to incorporate, because you could use, like let's say you're a tarot reader and you are doing it for financial gain. You could use an incense after you've cleansed. You can charge it with the incense of like fast money or some kind of road opener incense, and then just pass it through that way. So you would do like counterclockwise and cleansing, and then with the incense to bring you money, you would do clockwise to bring that kind of energy inward. Some people cleanse with the moonlight. I know people tend to use moonlight more as a charger, like after it's been cleansed, you kind of just leave it sitting in the moon. Um, if you do leave it outside, that does, risk exposing your object to the elements. So if you can leave it on a windowsill or anything, that might be preferred. You might even leave it in your car if the moonlight can go into your car and onto your object, assuming it's safe to leave whatever. Because I know in certain neighborhoods, if you leave something shiny in your car, that gives people incentive to break into your car. So, been there, glad I'm out of it, but just, do what you gotta do to be safe, etc. Yeah, think about the different phases of the moon too, right? Like I would use the dark moon for banishing. So if you wanted to leave your object charging in the dark moon, that could help you with that energy versus like say the full moon, which would be better in my opinion used to charge all of that full energy into your deck. We also have sounds. So some people believe in knocking and they think that'll that sounds rude. They think that will they believe that that cleanses your deck. I mean, I feel like if it's acting funny or you're not receiving good messages, knocking sometimes does help. But if, I mean, usually if you need a whole cleanse, so I don't really find knocking that useful, especially when I found out the origin of knocking was the idea that you wanted to contact the fae, so you would like knock on wood, you would knock on a tree, and that's why I say, oh, knocking on wood is good luck, and then it's just like not, I don't know, like the act of knocking to me is like more for summoning spirits, like in my opinion, historically, and like I don't know. I wouldn't personally use it, but some people say it works and it's a quick way to do it, so that's what you prefer. For it comes when it comes to sound cleansing, you can also clap. Much louder than that, obviously. Much more intentional, much more serious. I don't want to do that into the microphone, but clapping is a good way. I like to use a bell. It's a little soft, but I mean, you can make it really heavy, really intentional. Just kind of go back and forth with the bells. You can also do frequencies. So if you like go on YouTube and just look up like different frequencies, and if you do look up their meanings, maybe you want to again cleanse with the frequency and then charge with a different frequency depending on what you're using your object for. Um, Another one is visualization. So this one, a lot of energy work. You want to ground. Obviously, you don't want to take all of that energy from yourself. So if you could call upon the earth to ground you, and then whatever spirit you believe in, or the universe, or your higher self, whatever, draw the energy from that higher, that higher energy into yourself, and then through you and into the deck, and just like push out anything negative. Visualization is helpful. You can imagine anything. Really, it doesn't have to be. If you want to be super dramatic and into it, you can imagine yourself with like a sword and like cutting through all the energy. Like it can be really dramatic or it can be really simple. It doesn't matter, as long as you're pushing that intention into the deck. We have salt bowls. Again, you're going to want to be careful what you're putting into salt because that can damage the object depending on what it is. Some people like to sprinkle salt just a little bit here and there, so it's not like completely damaging the object, or like, the object isn't submersed in salt. It's just kind of like here and there cleansing. So it depends on your preference. You can also, if you had some kind of bowl or something, you can put the salt around it like a circle. So kind of like cleansing it. But again, like the act of a circle is more protective, so it really just depends. There are no wrong answers here. Okay, cleanse how you want to cleanse. Um, Again, you can bury things. Some people, they live in apartments and they don't really have anywhere to bury the object. So what you can do is get I forget what you call them. Not a vase, but like those terracotta, things where you put your plants into and they're inside plants. You can do that and then put it in your house or in your apartment, whatever, and bury it into that. That could also be helpful if you're living in a place where it's not necessarily safe to practice. That's a very secretive way. You could also make like a cleansing powder and mix it into the soil. And then in the other one, you can make a protection powder, mix it into the soil, and then like just bury them in the different pots depending on um, the what you're trying to achieve. So yeah, bearing salts. Pink salt is more protective than cleansing. I wouldn't say than cleansing. It can still cleanse, sure, but it has iron in it. So the iron from the pink salts is like protective, particularly spiritually protective. I heard, yeah, so iron is known to protect against spirits. So if you're using the object to communicate with spirits, maybe consider that. I don't think it'll be that powerful if you just sprinkle some pink salt on it, whatever, but still, just something to consider. And then lastly, oils and colognes. So this one's a cleansing oil. This one, I didn't have any colognes, but any protective colognes. But again, if you're imbuing it with an energy after you've cleansed it, you can either, if it's an object that isn't cards, let's say it's a metal piece of something, right? Like let's say it's this ring and I wanted to spray this all over. That's a way. You can also like put the oil on your hands, rub it, and then anoint your object with the oils with the cologne. Um, yeah, you can also anoint a candle with the oil and then light the candle next to it and then just kind of visualize cleansing energy. I feel like if you're starting to cleanse with candle work, that's a little heavier. Typically, you don't need, like, this is a brand new deck of cards from like a factory. So maybe you want to get some of that, spiritual dust off, but it's not necessarily like an object from an antique store. You don't really know the energy of it. Um, so yeah, you can either put it on your hands and then kind of like work your energy into the object, or you can put it directly onto the object. But again, you want to make sure you're using materials that aren't going to damage whatever it is you're trying to cleanse. So I still need to cleanse this deck. I'm just gonna pray to the rosemary spirit. Again, whatever uh, plant you choose to use, just be respectful. I don't like to force my ideas on other people, but after talking with the plant spirits, man, if you haven't checked out that series, you should. It's just like they totally do have their own opinions and their own desires, and they don't always want to help you. So, just be respectful. I like to say a prayer. Rosemary is always so helpful. So I say, like, I invite them into my space. Thank you for always helping me. And then, like, asking them again politely, they can please aid me in cleansing my deck. And when I get a yes, that can either be via pendulum or, just feeling it, you would smoke cleanse. And again, just circular. And again, I'm not too worried about clockwise, counterclockwise, but if you are, again, I feel like it's just an extra oomph. It's not necessary. It's not like your deck's not gonna get cleansed because you didn't move in the right motion. It literally doesn't matter, but you know, for the sake of visualization, we can show it in reverse. Can I get a if you're kind of nitpicky about it, you can like cut the deck in half and make sure you're getting all the innards. You can, combine things. You can finish it with a knock. You can finish it with a bell or something. It doesn't really matter. I would just thank the rosemary spirit. Okay. And if you, again, want to combine things, you can leave this overnight. Or you can, I'm trying to think of like all the things I said because I'm like, you can't put it in fire. You don't really want to bury it. And then it rained last night, so I'm like, okay, if I bury it, like, what are the odds that it's going to be soggy the next day? So just be careful about the type of object that you're using. But other than that, it should be fine. And I'm going to use this deck, woo, for the first time. I'm gonna go record some videos. Yeah, so hopefully you'll check those out. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you have any questions. See you in the next one.